that 7 million people are in danger in Seattle and other cities, and then the word nuclear appears below. That's no coincidence. Now I will show you 3 examples in which the Simpsons allude to a nuclear war. We see the Space Needle, therefore our subconsciousness stores Seattle, and in the background we see a nuclear power plant. You should know why a nuclear power plant was being drawn in the background. Let's move on to the next Simpsons scene.
It kind of...
Let me guess. A mother can always tell. It's not fear of nuclear war.
Marge says it's not a fear of a nuclear war. And right in this moment, a rocket appears in the background. Our consciousness would forget the rocket after only a few days. Or our consciousness would not even notice the rocket. But in our subconsciousness, this scene is saved forever. This interaction is not a coincidence, but an intended manipulation of our subconsciousness. We are supposed to believe that a nuclear missile is used. In the next Simpsons scene, there is exactly the same principle. We see the rocket, and where does the rocket land? In the nuclear power plant. Together it makes nuclear missile. I show you another example, and I will not say anything this time.
Too late after 100,000 Americans die.
After a nuclear holocaust.
Or after a million die in
And
Seattle.
that's where we are. This is not an exaggeration.
Every year there are forest fires in the Amazon. Why was so much reported about the Amazon fires in this year? The reason is predictive programming. The Amazon basin has the same name as the world's largest online mail order company, Amazon. But what is this about? It's about the trees. The heat weapon they use in Seattle can melt glass and all sorts of other material, but the heat weapon is incapable of burning trees. That's why we were always shown the trees during the Amazon fires. Our subconsciousness should save the words Amazon, tree and fire. Amazon is headquartered in Seattle. I assume that it will come after 11/3/2019 to worldwide problems with the delivery of Amazon packages. And we will hear in all the news that the reason is that Amazon is headquartered in Seattle. There is a movie that puts all the other films in the shade. War Games. I will only show you the most impressive parts of the film. Also, I would actually have to show you the whole movie. Again and again, the film draws attention to the city in which the young computer geek lives. You can certainly imagine which city that is. I briefly describe what the movie is about. A boy, without knowing it, hacks into the North American Aerospace Defense Command. Let's start with the first scene.
Let's play Global Thermonuclear War.
Fine.
All right.
Which side do you want?
Well, what do you think? Which attack site will he choose?
I'll be the Russians.
Please list primary targets.
Who should we nuke first?
Let's see. How about Las Vegas?
Las Vegas. Great. What next?
Seattle!
I prefer not to tell you what happened to me when I saw this scene for the first time. That Russia is the attacker, that is often mentioned in war games.
I woke up the president, I told him we were under attack by the Russians.
Confidence is high. Flight profile suggests Soviet backfire bombers. We have a launch detection. We have a Soviet launch detection.
Initial attack profile is a full-scale Soviet strike.
Russians are still denying everything, sir. We have a Soviet submarine launch detection.
Let's move on to the next scene. Of all the predictive programming examples I've seen in the media, that's my favorite. At least as far as the implementation is concerned.
United States went on a full-scale nuclear alert,
many months
believing
whether
that the
or not
Soviet
it's
Union had
illegal?
launched a surprise missile attack. A Pentagon spokesman places blame for the error on a computer malfunction, emphasizing that the problem has been corrected. For more on the story, let's go live via satellite to Washington, D.C.
Did you hear what the newscaster said in the end? He said Washington DC, the capital of the United States. But what message do they want to insert in our heads? Washington or Washington DC? Washington, of course. And that's the remarkable thing about this scene. When he says Washington, you can still see the atomic cloud. And when he says DC, there is a scene change. Watch again.
Go live via satellite to Washington, D.C. Go live via satellite to Washington, D.C.
And now it gets really funny. They could have shown the atomic cloud even to DC. Then the predictive programming would also have its effect. Because our subconsciousness cannot filter. Either way, we would have been influenced. This scene is not just programming, but also malice. They like such games. They laugh at us. They celebrate that. Because they show us the truth very clearly and no one realized what's really going on here. You need to know that the elite use codes in many movies that announce a very important message. This is among other things the index finger, which points upwards. Not only is there predictive programming in this movie, but important messages are also transmitted to other initiates. The first scene with the lifted forefinger does not bring good hope.
The Whopper has already fought World War III as a game, time and time again.
He mentioned World War III and then raises his finger. There are also two scenes with an uplifted forefinger that suggest that submarines will be of paramount importance for the Seattle attacks.
Are those bombs? Which is the bombs?
Subs. Floor man one.
Where are you? Give me an update on those subs. I want to know what those bastards are up to.
Yes, sir.
And fittingly, in July the 2nd, 2019, worldwide the news announced that the Russian nuclear-powered research submarine, named Loshavik, caught fire and killed 14 people. Just imagine, a few months before November the 3rd, 2019, a Russian nuclear submarine allegedly caught fire. I assume that this was a staged event and just a false pretense to transmit messages into our minds. And the message is that Russia has atomic submarines. Because that's a part of the show. We are supposed to believe that Russia will fire a nuclear missile at Seattle. Moreover, there are many references to the date in the movie. Here the date is displayed in European spelling 311. For the following scene, it is important to know that November the 3rd, 2019 is the third day of the 44th calendar week. In minute 44, at 30 seconds in the movie, a scene change takes place, and immediately after the scene change, she says attack.
Mr. President, this is Barringer, Noria.
Oh, attack!
How likely is it that she says attack exactly at this time? What are the odds?
And it opened on November 3rd, 11/3, 2014, the same freaking date. I can't believe it. What are the odds? What are the odds?
I let the scene play again. Pay attention to what the young say afterwards.
Mr. President, this is Barringer, Noria.
Oh, attack!
I wonder if I should use my subs.
Yeah, sure, give him the works.
This is not an isolated case. 443 or 344 is a code that is used very often in the media. As the third day of the 44th calendar week is a Sunday in 2019, and because a football match is taking place on this Sunday, there is a high probability that the staged attack will take place this year. In addition, the fire in Notre Dame and the permanent mention of the Amazon fires are a code that it starts this year. Take a look at the next two scenes.
My fault?
The whole point was to find a way to practice nuclear war without destroying ourselves. We're back at the war.